Brian Douglas Wilson was born in Inglewood, California on June 20, 1942. His early life was just filled with the sounds of Southern California, from the crashing waves to the booming car radios. He grew up in a modest home in Hawthorne with his two younger brothers, Dennis and Carl. Their father, Murray Wilson, was a musician and songwriter himself, and he pushed his sons toward music from a very young age. Brian showed a special gift. He could hear complex harmonies in his head and, recreate them on the family piano. His love for music was a deep and powerful force that would guide his entire life, offering him both great joy and a place to escape. Music was everywhere in the Wilson household. Brian listened to everything from the intricate vocal arrangements of the Four Freshmen to the driving rhythms of Chuck Berry. He became obsessed with how sounds were put together, deconstructing songs piece by piece to understand their magic. This early fascination was not just a hobby, it was the beginning of a lifelong quest to create a new kind of sound. He spent countless hours alone at the piano, his ear tuned to melodies that no one else could hear yet. This period of intense listening and learning laid the essential groundwork for the revolutionary music he was destined to create for the entire world. The idea for the Beach Boys came together naturally, born from family and friendship. Brian, his brothers Dennis and Carl, their cousin Mike Love, and a friend named Al Jardine started singing together. At first, they were just harmonizing in Brian's bedroom, trying to imitate their favorite groups. But Brian had bigger ideas. He wanted to write original songs that captured the feeling of being young in California. He wanted to write about surfing, cars, and summer days. With his father Murray acting as their demanding manager, the group recorded their first song, Surfin', and the Beach Boys were officially born, ready to share their unique sound with the world. Brian quickly became the heart and soul of the Beach Boys. He was not just a singer or a bass player, he was the band's chief songwriter, producer, and arranger. He was the visionary who heard the completed songs in his mind long before they were ever recorded. While the other members contributed their incredible vocals and musicianship, it was Brian's genius that shaped their direction. He wrote hit after hit, including classics like Surfin' USA, I Get Around, and Help Me Rhonda. These songs were more than just catchy tunes, they were miniature symphonies that defined the sound of an entire generation and painted a picture of an American dream. As the Beach Boys became more famous, Brian Wilson grew tired of the simple surf rock formula he had perfected. He wanted to do something more ambitious and emotionally honest. While the rest of the band was on tour, Brian stayed home in California and began working on what would become his masterpiece, the 1966 album Pet Sounds. He stopped thinking of the recording studio as just a place to capture a live performance. Instead, he treated it like another instrument. He experimented with unusual sounds, using everything from bicycle bells and barking dogs to string sections and French horns to create a rich and layered soundscape. Pet Sounds was a radical departure from anything the Beach Boys had done before. The lyrics were deeply personal and introspective, exploring themes of love, loss, and the anxieties of growing up. Songs like Wouldn't It Be Nice and God Only Knows were filled with complex harmonies and sophisticated arrangements that were unlike anything else in pop music at the time. Brian worked tirelessly with a group of elite studio musicians known as the Wrecking Crew to bring his vision to life. He was a master conductor, guiding every note and every sound to create a perfect, seamless whole that was both beautiful and heartbreaking. Following the creative breakthrough of Pet Sounds, Brian aimed even higher with a project he called Smile. He described it as a teenage symphony to God. This project was meant to be his ultimate statement, a groundbreaking work of art that would push the boundaries of pop music even further. He created incredible pieces of music for it, including the legendary single Good Vibrations. This song was a technical marvel, pieced together from dozens of different recording sessions in multiple studios. It was a pocket symphony that showed the world the incredible potential of studio production and Brian's limitless imagination. Sadly, the Smile project was never completed in its original form. The pressure to create something even greater than Pet Sounds, combined with his own personal struggles and resistance from within his band, became too much for Brian to handle. The project was shelved, and for decades, the music became one of rock and roll's most famous lost albums. Even so, the work he did during this period had a massive impact. Brian Wilson had shown other artists, like the Beatles, what was possible. He proved that pop music could be as deep, complex, and meaningful as any other art form. Behind the sunny sound of the Beach Boys, Brian Wilson's life was often filled with darkness. From a young age, he suffered from a hearing problem. He was almost completely deaf in his right ear, a condition that made his ability to create such complex stereo harmonies even more remarkable. More significantly, he battled severe mental illness for most of his adult life. The pressure of being a musical genius combined with deep-seated personal issues led to periods of intense depression and isolation. For many years, he withdrew from the world, a brilliant mind trapped by its own struggles. His personal life was also a story of highs and lows. In 1964 he married his first wife, Marilyn Rovell. Together they had two daughters, Carney and Wendy, who would later find their own fame as members of the pop group Wilson Phillips. But Brian's struggles put a great strain on their marriage, and they eventually divorced. For a long time, Brian's life was controlled by others, and he lost much of his creative and personal freedom. It was a difficult and painful chapter for a man who had brought so much joy to the world through his music. A turning point came when he met Melinda Kay Ledbetter, a former model who became his second wife in 1995. Melinda was a source of strength and stability for Brian. She helped him get the proper medical care he needed and encouraged him to reconnect with his music and his life. He often called her his savior, crediting her with giving him the security and love he needed to begin creating again. Together, they adopted 5 children, building a new family that brought him immense happiness. Melinda's love and support were essential in helping Brian find his way back to the light. Even in his later years, as he faced a diagnosis of dementia, Brian Wilson's spirit remained connected to music. He continued to tour and perform for his fans until 2022, sharing the songs that had become the soundtrack for so many lives. His life story, with all its incredible triumphs and heartbreaking challenges, was even turned into a celebrated film, Love and Mercy, in 2014. The film offered a compassionate look at his genius and his vulnerability, reminding the world that the man behind the beautiful music was also a human being who had overcome incredible odds. When Brian Wilson passed away on June 11, 2025, at the age of 82, the world of music felt a profound loss. Tributes poured in from every corner of the globe, from legendary rock stars to a new generation of artists he had inspired. His own band, the Beach Boys, released a statement calling him the heart and soul of their group, a man whose talent changed the course of music forever. They spoke of how his songs carried a sense of optimism and freedom that was uniquely American, a feeling that would live on forever in the hearts of listeners everywhere. Musicians he had influenced throughout his career shared their deep admiration. Sir Elton John called him his biggest influence and a true giant of music. Bob Dylan expressed his sadness, and members of the Rolling Stones and the Beatles, like Ronnie Wood and Ringo Starr, remembered his revolutionary sound. John Cusack, the actor who portrayed him in Love and Mercy, beautifully described him as an open heart with 2 legs, with an ear that heard the angels. These tributes showed just how far his influence reached, crossing genres and generations, and touching the lives of so many. Brian Wilson's legacy is secured not just by praise but by the numerous awards he received. He was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and the Songwriters Hall of Fame. He won 2 Grammy Awards and was celebrated with the prestigious Kennedy Center Honors, an award given to those who have made a lasting contribution to American culture. These honors recognized what music lovers already knew. Brian Wilson was more than just a pop star. He was a composer, an innovator, and a true artist who elevated popular music to a higher plane. Today, Brian Wilson's importance is greater than ever. His music continues to be discovered by new generations who are captivated by its beauty, complexity, and emotional depth. His life story is a powerful reminder of the resilience of the human spirit and the healing power of art. He taught the world that you could create something beautiful even when you are in pain. The sounds he imagined in his head, the soaring harmonies, the innovative arrangements, the melodies that felt like sunshine, will continue to echo forever. Brian Wilson is not just remembered, he is loved, a true musical genius whose work will never fade.